share the software. You'll be free, hackers, you'll be free.
I tend to think of things in terms of justice, freedom, and ethics. I announced the idea in November '83, but it was in January '84 that I quit my job at MIT to start developing a free operating system to which I gave the name GNU.
This is GNU, this is GPL, the GNU General Public Licensing. And of course, the kernel is under GPL.
Free software, I should explain, refers to freedom, not price. It's unfortunate that the word free in English is ambiguous. It has a number of different meanings. One of them means zero price, but another meaning is that you have freedom. So think of free speech, not free beer. There is a similarity between the folk process, where a poem or a song or a story can get refined and reshaped by one teller or singer after another, and the way free software gets improved. You'll often find cases where a free program is being developed now by a group of people who include none of the original developers. In 1991, we had almost finished the GNU system. Our goal was to make an operating system like Unix, but entirely free software. This complete operating system required many different components. By 1991, we had almost all of those components. Many of them we had written, and many others we had found somebody else had written it for his own purposes, but it did the job. And so we pressed it into service as a part of GNU. One major component was still missing, the component called the kernel. So it was very useful that Linus Torvalds wrote a kernel. At that point, combining his kernel, Linux, with the larger GNU system produced a complete runnable system that you could actually put onto your PC and run. So once Linux was developed, the GNU system in effect was completed, and it began to catch on in popularity. But at the same time, an unfortunate thing happened. The people who were using the GNU system didn't realize it was the GNU system. So they began calling the whole combination Linux. And that confusion spread. And as a result, it's very hard for us in the GNU project to call the user's attention to the ethical and political issues.
Hoarders can get piles of money, that is true. Hackers, that is true. But they cannot help their neighbors, that's not good. Hackers, that's not good.
Most computer science in the USA comes traditionally from military background and defense spending. Perhaps it isn't any more quirky that nowadays free software movement finds room both for Richard Stallman and libertarian ideals. Many saw free software also as a new way of making money and needed a less radical concept. Enter open source.
We looked at the history of advocacy in what at the time was still mostly called the free software movement, and we concluded that it hadn't worked. That in fact the rhetoric and the tactics used by Richard Stallman and the Free Software Foundation had probably left us worse off than we were when we started.
The term open source doesn't really imply a lot of political issues like it used to. The free software term still does.
There is now a second movement, the open source movement, where they consider only the practical benefits, and they refuse, and I mean that literally, they carefully avoid the issues of principle, freedom, ethics, and making a good society for people to live in.
That kind of language is implicitly threatening to people whose day-to-day concerns are, how do I increase my shareholder value? How do I keep control of my business? How do I address my actual down-to-earth problems? People like that, when you walk into their offices and say, you should use all open source for your business because sharing is good and hoarding is evil, it doesn't work. It just does, as communication, it fails.
I am not against business. I don't believe in abolishing business. I do business myself. But I believe business should not dominate all of life. The rules of society should not be chosen primarily to please business.
In early 1998, majority usage in the community went from free software to open source in 6 weeks flat in the late spring, early summer of 1998. And that told me that there had been huge pent-up demand in the community for a way of explaining what we were doing that was more effective. The whole attitude in the trade press and in the investor community completely turned around, 180 degrees. The same people who had spent years and years and years sneering dismissively at free software and talking about sandal-wearing freaks with long hair, those very same people within a year were falling all over themselves to write laudatory articles about the wonders of open source and peer review. And this was really funny because it was the same software, and in most cases, the same people.
Linux happened without the help of people with deep pockets, or even despite the help. How can we keep from destroying the magic by pouring all of this money into Linux?
When Linux started to become commercialized, people said, oh, well, we'd like to keep it as our own little project and things like that, and nobody should be making any money off of it. Well, in the real world, people make money off of things. In the United States, it's a capitalistic society. In Europe, it's a capitalistic society. And in order for companies to start using Linux, they want to have somebody sitting there who can give them support, who can sell them the hardware, who can do all this type of thing. And these people who sell this hardware and sell the support are going to make money.
Not every one of us is a hacker. Actually, very few of us will take the effort to download our own Linux from the net. Even fewer will tackle with the code itself in order to improve it. Though Linux was hard to use, customers valued strongly its reliability and open source code. There was an opportunity for companies with new visions.
For Red Hat, it wasn't important that we ship a better operating system than Microsoft's or Sun Microsystems. It becomes really important that we ship an operating system that solves a problem for our customers that they cannot solve using the traditional proprietary binary-only software. We're recognizing what we were doing was we were building technology and then giving it away. So we said, well, how do you make money doing this? And of course, we would go to California, to Silicon Valley, and everyone would say, well, you cannot make money in the software business giving your technology away. And we would come back and we'd talk to our customers and we'd realize the only thing that kept our customers loyal to what we were doing was that we did give away our technology. For the very first time, they had control over the technology they're using.
The real value in most software products is the active maintenance down the line, the continuing support relationship between the vendor and you.